Letting the sound of the bell bring us to our Tuesday Teatime. Inviting each other from whatever age group, ethnicity, religious background, cultural background, sexual preference, gender identity, that we come together for the benefit of all beings, acknowledging those native peoples whose lands we are now occupying. Here in the Portland area, it's the Clackamas, the Siletz, and many bands and tribes who were living in the rivers of the Willamette and Columbia for 11,000 years. May we acknowledge their presence, past, present, and future. And may we also acknowledge those of Asian backgrounds who brought teachings to North America in the 1800s because of the California Gold Rush and then the Immigration Act. That Buddhists of every Buddhist country have settled in North America. And we are the beneficiaries of their teachings. And so as we sit, letting the bell come to the ears, acknowledging the ability to be free in this lifetime from suffering, the Buddha's teachings that we can see for ourselves, and we share in Sangha together, letting the container of our body and gravity be our guide, settling in this moment, noticing our breath as an anchor to return to the present moment when the mind wanders. Sometimes we can count from 1 to 10. Maybe we make it to 3, and we begin again as we develop concentration, as we develop returning over and over again to a single object that we use, the breath or the touch point of the buttocks on the cushion and the feet on the floor, noticing pressure of the hands and being present in this body. In this practice of Vipassana meditation, insight meditation, which I also blend with the metta practice of loving kindness, we want to see clearly what's really happening in this moment. And so we pay attention. We might be sleepy, or maybe the mind is agitated. Perhaps there's greed in the mind, wanting a pleasant state to continue, or aversion in the mind, wanting the unpleasant state to go away faster. But with the practice of mindfulness, we let our breath be the place that we can return to show us the impermanent, non-personal nature of whatever arises. We use that breath moment by moment to return to when the mind is wandering, to help us develop concentration. And so we can use the breath or the touch point of a place in the body to return to when we find the mind is wandering, lost in thought. We just gently training our minds to return. Sometimes we may find the mind wandering. We can wake up in that moment noticing whether what was happening was pleasant or unpleasant, or maybe we aren't quite that aware. Might be neutral. Was it a thought in the mind or a sensation in the body? But if we see it from the standpoint of Vedana or feeling tone, we are a little more removed from strong identity with it. We hold ourselves in gentleness, with ease. And we can always ask ourselves what is happening right now, in this very moment. Be present with this moment. It changes to this moment, and then this moment, and then this moment. Each of these moments that we are present with awareness is creating our karma for the next moment. So we take this time to really be open to what's happening, aware of what's happening, noticing the constantly changing moments, spacious openness, returning to grounding in the body when necessary. We may notice sounds near and far away. We may notice other sensations arising at the sense doors. Hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, and the thought door. The Buddha suggested that everything we know comes to us from the senses, from hearing and seeing and smelling and tasting and touching and the thought door. We create everything that we know from conditions that arise at any of those senses. And so if we back away from attending to the breath, we can create our body as the container, our breath throughout the body, and notice what happens at any of the sense doors. We might hear sounds close up or far away. Mindfulness is present to notice just sound arriving at the ears without attaching identification or preference to it, without describing what it is and whether it's pleasant or unpleasant. To be neutral with mindfulness helps us have dispassion, helps us not be attached to whether something is pleasant or unpleasant. At the sight door, at the taste door, even at the touch door. Sometimes as we sit, we notice different sensations happening at our buttocks that might be becoming what we might consider less pleasant. The seat gets harder. But as we make an effort with interest to really be with what is happening at any of the sense doors, with neutrality, with mindfulness, that brings us closer to our hope of freedom from suffering, because we aren't grasping at wanting it to be some other way. So whether we're breathing with the entire body and letting each of our sense doors show us where our attention is going, or whether we are continuing to go back to the breath at the nostrils or the belly or the touch point as a more concentrated means of having a more peaceful sense of sitting as we develop more concentration. We still have the Vipassana insight available to be with and maybe name slightly what's happening so that we aren't caught in the story of whatever comes to us. what is happening now. Are we thinking ahead, wondering something? Are we reflecting from something in the past? Can we notice a space in between, like in the breath when it arises on the inhale, and then there's a space between the inhale and the exhale. And then there's the exhale, we're with the exhale. And there's that moment where there's space between the motion of the movement from the exhale to the inhale. Can we notice those moments between the breaths? Can we notice those moments between thoughts? Can we be present? And as we hold ourselves with kindness in this present moment, we can also help keep out the hindrances of doubt and sloth and torpor, of anxiety and grasping and clinging and pushing away. We can help the mind concentrate a little more by being present with ourselves in the metta practice, in loving kindness, in repeating a phrase that works for you, or having a sense within your heart space that is a sense feeling. But just the gentle repetition of "may I be at ease" can help us not rush ahead into the next moment or worry about something about our past behavior or somebody else's past behavior. Just being present. May I be at ease. May I have well-being. May I notice those moments that I'm free from suffering. May I notice those moments of contentment and ease, and appreciate those and be grateful for them. And may I also hold within this cauldron of my body and heart and breath, mind, other people, people that I'm close to, good friends or a benefactor, someone who taught us the way in some field, or maybe our first meditation teacher. May we hold another being, a friend, benefactor, in our hearts, seeing them healthy and happy and at ease. Developing this concentration, may you be at ease. May this sense of well-being and ease, which naturally flows into compassion, grounded in loving kindness that flows into compassion when we see another suffering. May we envision a neutral person, wishing them to be at ease, to have happiness and the causes of happiness. And with each of our breaths, may we include others that we hold in kindness and in compassion, all of us being subject to this human birth. Although we have different stories, many of our experiences are similar in ways that we notice suffering in our lives when we grasp and cling. And with compassion, may we hold others whose lives are less fortunate than our own. We have this great privilege of being able to sit together at this time in a place that is not war-torn. May we hold in our hearts others unknown to us, those around us in our very neighborhood, in our towns, that we see on the streets or suffering. Those beings that we know in broader areas are suffering greatly. The best and one of the very most appropriate things we can do is hold them in our kindness, hold them in our compassion, wherever they are. This growing of our heart's cultivation of these heavenly abodes, these emotions worth having of kindness, compassion, equanimity, and sympathetic joy. May we continue to cultivate these, and as we cultivate them for ourselves and for others, it comes back to us. It builds our heart muscle. It builds our compassion and kindness and our need for equanimity, to not fall into extremes when we really hold in our hearts so much going on. May we hold those who are in sorrow and sadness gently in our hearts, as well as those who are in joy and happiness, those beings that are known and unknown, beings who are seen and unseen, enlightened and unenlightened. May all beings everywhere have ease. Be free from harm, safe and protected. Those that swim, crawl, walk, fly, deep, deep in the ocean's depths, way up high, beings known and unknown. May all beings everywhere have happiness and the causes of happiness. Be free from harm, safe and protected. And as we generate these thoughts of kindness and compassion, it gives us a way of moving in the world that, as the Buddha mentioned, some of the attributes of the metta practice, practicing the Brahma Viharas, is people like us. They're drawn to us. The sense of non-harming and kindness and seeing things clearly, really realizing that all conditioned things, everything that comes to our ears, eyes, nose, tongue, touching, mind, is conditioned. Due to conditions that come together, they arise and they pass away without our control. We're noticing clearly. Anicca vata sankara upadavaya domino upakitawa meruchanti te samvapasamo sukho. All conditioned things, everything that we perceive at our senses, are conditioned. They're coming together due to circumstances. All conditioned things arise and pass away. And seeing this clearly with mindfulness brings the greatest happiness, which is peace. Thank you for your practice. May it bring you joy. These moments, no matter where we go in our hearts and minds, the very fact that we're carving out this time for ourselves, for this practice of being present and aware and kind, can only send out good vibes in the air and to us. So may the merit of our practice be of great benefit to all beings.